Hi everybody, happy Thursday. It's Mary Satoli with the Follow Your Bliss Foundation. Who else, right? Today's subject is kind of on the heavy side, so I'm going to try to keep it as light as I can because that's what I do, keep things light if that's possible with benzo stuff. But I've been talking to a girl this week in New Jersey and helping her with her withdrawal, and it's pretty brutal. I want to start with a couple things I promised I'd keep you updated on. I told you about the broccoli sprouts. No, ulua, they're not Brussels sprouts. They are broccoli sprouts. And kind of in my Vanna White mode here this morning. And anyway, they're highly anti-inflammatory, and so far so good. I kind of attribute a few things to my improvement. Today so far, the best day muscle and joint wise, and really after I swam today I could not believe the improvement in the lack of tightness and just feeling really good. I mean, I feel really good today. So and I know that you are tapering are probably hating me because I hated everybody that was recovering and happy and had a life, but you'll get there too, I promise. And so this is, you're gonna love this one. I loved the name of it. It's kind of like, da-da, Dr. Collagen. Mr. Coffee, remember Mr. Coffee? That's kind of thought of when I saw this. But this is a really good, I kind of shied away from a lot of protein powders or any processed foods because they just have a lot of crap in them, and this is pretty basic stuff. It's just it's from bone collagen, bovine, chicken, and fish bone, which according to Dr. Axe, who I've watched a lot of his videos online, and he seems to be pretty knowledgeable. Don't agree with everything he has to say, but he's not specifically looking at benzo recovery. He kind of goes into other things. So what I like about this though is the diet that he recommends to kind of do. It's a kidney flush, and I feel clear. I started this, I think, almost a week ago, Saturday, about 6 days now, and it was a little rough the first couple of days because I wanted my granola, but it's a pretty. After I got going the first couple days, it got easier, and I don't mind all the berries and stuff now. So, but I like berries. It's just a steady diet of them, probably not. So it's really tasteless. So you can kind of put. What I've been doing is 2 smoothies a day with mixed berries. They recommend cranberry, cranberry, blueberries, and black cherries. It's great now because cherries are in season. Smoke, and I just got a bag this week, and they're expensive, but they're good. And I got a bag of frozen that have strawberries in them because just, I don't know. Anyway, the cranberries and blackberry or cherries and blueberries are supposed to be something about flushing the kidney and that sort of thing. So, and it's an adrenal reset. So it kind of, now he recommends to only do this for 3 days, but I'm gonna go as long as I can stand it. So I'm kind of being hardcore here. But as I mentioned, it has type 1, 2, 3, 5, and the source is a bone collagen. So this is like something that most of us don't get enough of in our diet. It's from bovine, chicken, and fish bone, which from what I understand is one of the best sources of collagen to get because it does something to the connective tissue. And it made a lot of sense to me given that our brains are fried from these drugs and that our muscles and everything is being affected. And so collagen obviously is the building block or the fiber, the glue that kind of puts everything together. So what I've been sort of experimenting with getting the inflammation down, and by doing that I've eliminated dairy and eggs, anything that's really inflammatory. And so far, like I said, if I have to eat like this the rest of my life, well, I might be pushing it, but I gotta have ice cream once a year at least, so I gotta have my organic ice cream once a year. So so far so good. As I said, it's got a combination of things in it, and you can add it to the smoothies. I'm putting the berries, a little coconut water. I got some cranberry concentrate because cranberries you just, I don't know, some places might have frozen now, but mostly I think they're a fall berry, like Thanksgiving time, because that's when you see them in the stores, at least fresh. But or I think even frozen, because I didn't find any in the frozen food section. I couldn't find any. So then I put a little cranberry concentrate, half a banana, and 2 scoops of that, because what I'm trying to shoot for is one of the things Jocelyn said in one of her videos, which I liked. She went to an alternative doctor, I think, and had her on like over 100 grams of protein. Protein, like I said, building block, collagen. It's the building block. You need amino acids to make every cell in your body. Everything functions on protein. So this is one of the things I didn't get enough of being a vegetarian, and for those of you that are vegans, this is probably not an option, but because it's from animal source. But I personally diverted away from being a vegan for that reason. I didn't think that I was getting enough protein, but I'm not telling anybody what to do here. These are just ideas that I know are helping me, and I want to pass that along to anybody that I can help. So 2 scoops of that in the smoothie, and then I drink 2 of those, and then for dinner I have a big salad, just tons of greens and lettuce with a part of a chicken breast, just a small chicken breast, and I make my ginger. I am ginger queen. All of the people at the grocery store see me coming. I literally buy out the raw ginger at the grocery store, and it's a great conversation piece because everybody sees my grocery cart full of ginger, and they ask me what I use it for. Well, I put it in smoothies. Actually, that's what I added to the smoothie, because he recommends some extra herbs and things that help on this diet, so that was okay for me to use. And I don't know, there's something, I just got into this kick when I was coming off the drugs, and all of a sudden I just wanted ginger all the time. So I make it in sauces for like fish and chicken, and then a salad dressing I make with Barb, you like this, because I know you like to cook and you like to eat. That's something we have in common. And that has like some dill and fresh garlic and ginger, and I put a little olive oil and a little bit of flaxseed oil, because you need those omega-3s, and then just that's it. And so far I feel like maybe I've lost a couple of my benzo belly that I'm trying to get rid of. But and I know that some of you out there have it too. So it's I think that it's an inflammatory thing when the neurotransmitters go haywire. I mean, we already have, prone toward inflammatory things if we have a diet that's, high in inflammatory foods and acidic. We're going to get a certain amount of that. So I would recommend you give it a try if you are in later stages of your recovery like myself, and you can tolerate a lot more supplements and foods and stuff like that. But I'm doing really well today. It's been a good day so far, and it's not even noon yet. I mean, I'm just getting started, so who knows what's going to happen next. Okay, so that's that. Now, the more serious side, if I can be today. I don't know, I'm not in a very serious mood, so I'll do my best. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this woman's case, and I don't think it's an isolated thing. I know it's not, but she's been emailing me the last 2 days, and we talked on the phone for quite a while a couple days ago. And she is having a very, very, very difficult time, as many of us do. She's having severe facial spasms and muscle spasms that put her in the ER, and believe it or not, she told me that the ER doctor did recognize that this was from the benzos. He actually said this is benzo withdrawal, and he was like pissed. He was pissed at what was going on with her, and they couldn't do anything for her. There's nothing they can give her. So I am trying to give her some hope, and I talked a lot about this in my blog that I wrote yesterday about suicide. When I spoke about that last week, I felt like this was a good sort of follow-up to that particular video that I did. And there's just so many things that are happening in the world that are difficult right now for people to handle. And when you're coming off these drugs, I think it just amplifies everything that seems already overwhelming and hard to handle. And she's totally dependent on her brother to help her right now. And I guess I think I've talked to you guys before about gratitude, and gratitude is huge for me. There are days that I don't feel like being grateful about anything, but I have seen how it's changed my life. I think as I was coming out of it, and I tried to apply some of this work to my situation, and I told her just the simple things to be grateful for, like you've got a roof over your head and you can afford organic food to eat. Those are two biggies. If you don't have shelter, you can't heal. And I think this is the basis for a lot of our health issues in this country, particularly mental health. I was talking to a guy earlier whose son had an issue with ADHD, and they had tried him all these drugs, and finally he intervened, and he says, there's nothing that can work as well as a healthy diet and love. And I think we are severely lacking in those things in our world today. We don't nurture each other. I think I brought this up before. We're a bunch of angry, greedy, all about myself, particularly in America. And I've seen some videos of some young kids that have gone to Congress that are just irate about their futures, and I don't blame them, because if I were 16 years old, I'd be like pretty fearful myself with what's going on in the world. So I think it was hard for me to kind of get my head around how I could go about helping people with trauma, because what you got to understand about these drugs is it creates PTSD for a lot of people. Just the experience of the withdrawal itself. You've had your neurotransmitters fried. Everything in your body is just completely shot. I remember back to a year. It's been almost a year and a half. I celebrate my 18 months in July. Just a couple weeks. And I know, Barb, you're like right behind me, because your anniversary is around the same time as mine. Only you're a few months behind, but you'll make it. You're gonna get there like all the rest of us do. And the trauma is on so many levels. A lot of us have lost our careers, our jobs, and our finances, and our friends, and everything that we connected to in this world. It's highly traumatic. And one of the biggest fears that I have about where we're headed with this whole drug culture and medical system is that we are not prepared to have a potential for an epidemic problem to treat the people that are traumatized from these drugs as far as their health. I consider myself to be a pretty strong person, and most of my friends just were, what the hell's wrong with you? And I think it does a two-stage traumatic thing to you, first on a physical level and then on a mental level, because you have to suck it up and somehow get on when you can't get on, and you're laying there and no one is willing to help you. And I had people, fortunately, that were willing to help me, but they didn't always understand it. And I think that maybe I didn't understand, and so I couldn't communicate to them what I needed. And this is what I found with this woman is that she was having an extremely difficult time just getting her attention somewhere else. I was helping to try to redirect her attention on her breathing, or something that could center her and ground her. But I've been through this, and I know how hard that is to do. I think I shared with you in one of my videos on the spiritual side of benzo withdrawal, and that was pretty much the experience of my last year on the drugs, when I was flat on my back, particularly for the last 4 or 5 months, and I was crawling to the grocery store. I didn't know how I was going to take care of myself, and it really requires you to have a huge trust factor that somehow you're going to recover from this and everything's going to turn itself around, and it does, but it takes a long time, and it's a mental endurance test, as I've told many people. So this is a big problem, and I almost feel like we need to build a trauma center to accommodate all of these sick people that are being told there's nothing wrong with them, and their psychiatrists are just wanting to put them on another pill. And I think in a couple cases this week that I've talked to, I think they're all menopause related, like mine was, the anxiety and hormone problems. And then you throw these drugs at the situation and it complicates it even more, because our body's at least designed to accept bioidentical hormones where it's not to so much at all. We don't have receptor sites for benzodiazepines or antidepressants. So I my blog centered around this deep kind of frustration that I have of how do I take my experience and be able to share how I got through it, and I relate, because there were days that I just didn't want to hear anybody tell me that I needed to focus on something else, because it's so hard to do. Everything in your body's throbbing, and when you haven't got your mind and you haven't got your brain and it's just lit up on fire, and you feel like everything in your body's just going to, gosh, my hands feel so good today. I'm sorry, I'm just feel good, and when I have a good day, I want to share it, because I hope it gives you guys hope that are on your taper process. I really do. I just think it's the most important thing that those of us who are through withdrawal can give to people who are still going through. And I think as long as this continues to be part of our healthcare system, we're going to continue to have people going through this problem, and it's going to continue to be an ongoing thing that they're not going to be willing to recognize. Now, I wanted to bring up, while I'm thinking about that, the link below. I'm going to post this again for the FDA, where you can submit your reaction and story to the FDA, because it's really important in getting our class action suit started. So you guys, I know there's a lot of you that have trouble even being on the internet or writing, and that's where this woman was that I spoke with. But it's really important that, particularly for the people who are really bad, because they need to see the cases that are spasming, and I've seen videos of people whose shoulders are like going like this, and they can't control any movement at all, and it's like horrible. So if anybody has suggestions, I know that I've talked to some of you that listen personally and are going through it, and by the way, Barb, thanks for last weekend. You really helped me get over kind of a bad hump. I had started the diet, and I was teary-eyed, and I don't get in a funk very often anymore. Anything's easy after benzo withdrawal, but I had a bit of a setback, and I just wanted, I wanted all of it to be over with, and it's just not that simple. I know that feeling, and even though 90% of it is over for me, that I'd say maybe no more than 90%, maybe 93% is over, you still want all of it to be gone, and unfortunately there just isn't a quick fix, and it takes time. I think there are, like I mentioned with the diet, after you're done with withdrawal, there are things that can accommodate the healing process. Eating a healthy diet, most important thing of all. But even then, it comes with a lot of bumps and grinds, and it's hard. So the other thing I wanted to mention was regarding trauma is there seems to be, I think, almost kind of a deep sorrow and grief that goes along with the losses. And so not only are we traumatized, but we're grieving. And I know for myself that there was sometimes I was in so much pain physically and mentally that I just could not grieve. I think I just had shut down so much as far as being able to feel anything, because the pain is so horrific that you just don't want to feel anything. And when you kind of get on the other side of it, I think that was one of the things you were sharing with me, Barb, is allowing myself to feel those emotions, and that you cry every day, and I'm like thinking, really, I wish I could do that. I don't know, I just, I guess that I tend to be, I think, an emotional person, but something happened to me after I came off these things. I didn't experience my emotions the same way as I was when I was on them, and I think that takes its toll on the grieving process, because you don't allow that process to come up. And so maybe to a certain extent over the weekend, some of that was bubbling for me because I hadn't cried in months and months and months, and I found myself just laying on the floor, and it was all I could do. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? You know, everything's a lot better than it was, but I think that you kind of suppress to get through it, and cowboy up to try to get through it, and then when the dust settles, there's just all this emotional stuff pouring out of you. And so grief and trauma kind of, I think, cross over to some extent, because the trauma sometimes we don't feel, sometimes like we even are aware that we're in the midst of some sort of trauma because we're just trying to ride this out. But then, as I said, when the dust settles and we see that we are, wow, looking back at this really crazy experience, and there is some residual trauma. I know there still is for me. I don't even know if I've really processed everything as much as I need to. And I think need to is a key word, because need is, you need to do that. You've got to take time to lick your wounds after this. It's a really hard, it's like coming out of a war zone. You know, all these soldiers that come back with PTSD, and a lot of them are put on these drugs on top of it. So they're suppressing with those drugs all of those natural emotions when a person experiences trauma in this world, no matter what it is, whether it's from war or whether it's from benzos, which I think we're going to see more and more of. So anyway, I am really happy to be able to share all of this information with you as usual. I hope you guys have some great plans for the 4th of July weekend, and that you're going to be feeling better soon. Hang in there for those of you who are really struggling through the worst part of this again. You can always contact me through our website. I'll put all the usual links up below for all of you who maybe haven't seen my videos before. But hang in there, because as I mentioned with this woman, I told her, I said, you know, we need some of the hardest cases to survive this so that they can live to tell their story. Otherwise, it's not going to get out there. I think too much of this information is really being not only suppressed, but denied. And that's the key word here, is denial. We have too much denial in this society about virtually everything. So on that note, I'm not going to be too terribly long-winded today, even though I feel like I could probably talk a blue streak. I'm going to just sign out here and go make my smoothie. So we'll talk to you all later. Bye!